tuning in today. My name is Miss Christina with the Lafayette Public Library, and it is Tuesday, which means we have got another fun science experiment for you. Today, we're gonna do an experiment called elephant toothpaste. I bet you've heard of this before, but we have got a twist to it. Since it's almost Halloween, we're gonna do the experiment inside of a pumpkin. So instead of elephant toothpaste, we're gonna call this pumpkin toothpaste. For this experiment, you will need a pumpkin, of course, and we're gonna be carving it. So you'll also want some pumpkin carving tools and a bowl to put all its guts inside. You'll also want some 20 volume peroxide. Now this is different than the peroxide you'd find at the pharmacy. I got it at a beauty supply store because it's usually used to lighten your hair. And I've also seen people use 30 or 40 volume peroxide. Those will work too, just make sure it's at least 20. You'll also need some fast-acting yeast, 2 packets of that. You'll need some warm water, some dish soap, and some food coloring. Any color you want, and that's optional, you don't have to have it. You'll also want some kind of cylinder or bottle, or I'm gonna use a vase, and some measuring cups. You'll need 1 cup and 1 tablespoon. All right, let's get started. We're gonna begin by carving our pumpkin, and of course, you will want your grown-up to help you out with this. You do not wanna ever use a knife on your own. Ooh. All right, I've got the lid off, so now we can start scraping out all the pumpkin guts. What words can you think of to describe the feeling of pumpkin guts? Squishy, gooey, slimy, cold, and goopy. All right, I think this looks pretty good. He is pretty cleaned out. So now let's go ahead and give him a face. Okay, so my pumpkin is finished. I just did something really quick and really simple. It's not gonna win any awards, but that's okay because this is more about the experiment than it is the carving. All right, so I'm gonna set this aside and we are gonna get our mixture together. Okay, so you're gonna take your cylinder or your bottle and add 1 cup of your peroxide. And this might irritate your skin if you splash it on yourself, so it would be a good idea to have your adult pour in the peroxide. Okay, and next you're going to add 2 tablespoons of dish soap. Okay, now you can add in your food coloring. Since this is already kind of blue from the dish soap, I'm gonna add green and hopefully it will turn into teal. Okay. Now, let's move our jack-o'-lantern back over here. I'm gonna put the vase, oh, I hope it fits. Okay, there we go. Now, I'm going to take a cup of warm water. This is 6 tablespoons of warm water. I've already measured it out. And to this, we will add 2 packets of yeast. Okay, now stir that up until it dissolves. I'm using the opposite end of my stick, so I'm not mixing my ingredients. You need to stir it for about 30 seconds. Okay, I think that's good. And now we're gonna pour this yeast mixture into the mixture that's in our pumpkin, and we'll see what happens. To be honest, I don't know what's gonna happen, so I'm gonna move back because I don't want to get messy. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Woo! Okay, so it's not coming out of the pumpkin's mouth like I expected it to. It's more like pumpkin shampoo than pumpkin toothpaste, but it is still pretty cool. Okay, now that was a good first try, but I think I'm gonna do the experiment again and see if I can get it to work the way I want it to. So looking at my pumpkin, I can see that it's leaning backwards just a little bit. And if the pumpkin's leaning backwards, I would assume that the vase was also leaning backwards. And so it would make sense that the foam went that direction. So I'm gonna try this again, and instead of putting the mixture into the vase, I'm just gonna put everything directly into the pumpkin. I don't know if that's gonna work, but I'm gonna give it a shot and see. Okay, let's pour in the peroxide mixture. I'm just gonna get out of the way. 3, 2, 1. It looks like it's working. Awesome. So what you're seeing is a chemical reaction. Hydrogen peroxide is a combination of hydrogen and oxygen. In this experiment, the yeast is acting as a catalyst that helps release oxygen molecules from the hydrogen peroxide solution. A catalyst is a material that increases the rate of a reaction, so the release of oxygen molecules in this experiment happens fast. The foam created in this chemical reaction is made up of very tiny oxygen bubbles. This is also an exothermic reaction. An exothermic reaction is a chemical reaction that releases energy through light or heat, in this case heat. The foam that you see is warm, so I recommend that you don't touch it. Okay, now in case you cannot get your hands on the ingredients I used for the pumpkin toothpaste, I am going to do a similar experiment using things that you are probably more likely to have around the house: vinegar and baking soda. So my hypothesis is that this is going to have a smaller reaction. So I used a smaller pumpkin and I just carved out the mouth and I drew on some eyes. So I'm just going to guess on the measurements here. I'm going to do 1/3 of a cup of baking soda. And I'll pour that directly into the pumpkin. Okay, and now I'm gonna pour some vinegar into a cup. Again, I'm not measuring, I'm just kind of guessing. And we'll add some food coloring to that. I'm gonna use red this time. Okay, let's stir that up. And now I'm gonna just pour it into my pumpkin. I'm gonna keep pouring until I get a reaction. I don't know if you can see that. Ooh, there it goes. So it's a similar reaction, but it uses things that you're probably more likely to have around the house. Okay guys, if you learned anything today, I hope it's this. If an experiment does not work out the way you want it to the first time, don't be afraid to try it again. Even scientists, like real actual scientists, will tell you that it takes a lot of trial and error before you get an experiment to work out just right. And as long as you learn something from it, no experiment is a failure. So don't be afraid to make mistakes and don't be afraid to try and try again. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you have a happy and safe Halloween, and we'll see you next week for another experiment. Goodbye.